Howdy y'all, Caleb here. If you saw the news yesterday, our Battlescroll is delayed. It's sad. I know I've been sitting here waiting for that Battlescroll to drop so I can build some lists. I've got a tournament coming up, and so I really want that Battlescroll to hit us so we can see what in the world we're going to be dealing with. Are we getting nerfs? Are we getting buffs? Who knows? So it looks like they delayed it a little bit because they wanted to see the results from LVO. So it looks like it's coming next month. They said potentially next month. Logically, it looks like 40K's data slate will be next week, and then we'll get the Battlescroll the week after that. So hopefully not too far from now. So instead of, what I would hopefully have been reviewing a Battlescroll, we're going to do a little bit of a wish list. What do I wish, hope, think might be in the Battlescroll? What are they going to hit us with? Maybe they'll buff something. We'll see. I don't know. I don't have any inside information. This is just my own wish list. First off, though, we had LVO, Las Vegas Open. Was that this past week or the week before? And that was a huge tournament in Las Vegas. Almost 400 people playing Age of Sigmar. Pretty awesome. One of these days, I'm going to get out there to it. Some of my club mates got out there and played some good games. But it's a really good gauge of kind of where armies are at. Because it's so many people, you got a lot of matchups, you got a lot of games, you can kind of gauge on where things are at. And that may be why GW is pushing that Battlescroll a little bit further, just so they can get a feel for what was happening at LVO. In other words, they might be writing the Battlescroll right now based on some of the stuff they saw at LVO. So, with that said, how did Seraphon do? We had quite a few lists and players at LVO, and in total, we had 40 wins for Seraphon, 38 losses for a 51% win rate. I mean, that's about exactly where you want to be for an army, is at that 50% win rate. Once we break it out into factions, it does skew a little bit more. As we generally expect, Fangs of Sotek comes out on top with a 59% win rate. A lot of armies are playing Fangs of Sotek. They're generally our higher performing sub-faction. Kotal's Claw came in second most lists and did 37% win rate. That's not very good for Kotal's Claw. We've known it's not doing that good. It strives for just to be a tough list, and there's a lot of things that just counter it. So it does end up struggling against a lot of other opponents. I did see one guy playing Thunderlizard, and he went 3-2 for a 60% win rate. We'll look at his list in a second, just because I'm not sure exactly what was going on there. In the app, it looks like an illegal list, so I'm going to discount completely Thunderlizard. I'm glad his name was Michael. I'm glad he took Thunderlizard, and maybe the list in the app was just wrong, and he really did pull off 3-2 with an awesome Thunderlizard list. So that's pretty cool. Dracothian's Tail, pretty low numbers also, but a 40% win rate. Really, Dracothian's Tail end up playing the same list of Fangs of Sotek, just a little bit worse. So I think without rewriting the sub-faction, that one will just end up struggling versus Fangs of Sotek. So, with that said, I think we might see, if we see any nerfs, I think it might be something to the Fangs of Sotek side of things. If we see any buffs, I expect them to come towards Kotal's Claw and Thunderlizards. Not necessarily the sub-factions, but maybe the units. So here's Michael's list for Thunderlizard. I want to throw this one in here because I got really excited when I saw the Thunderlizard list, but double check me. I'm pretty sure this list is illegal. We've got 2 monster heroes here. We've got 3 Stegodons at battle line, so we don't have to worry about those as monsters. But then we also have 3 Basildons with Arc of Sotex, which are excellent pieces, but that makes 5 keyworded behemoths in the list, which makes that illegal. So I'm guessing it was just inputted wrong. I'm sure he didn't take an illegal list. But Michael, if you're watching this, let us know what your list was, because I really want to see the Thunderlizard list that went 3-2 at LVO, because that's pretty impressive. All right, so what to expect from Battle Scrolls? Usually in these Battle Scrolls, we'll get maybe like 1 or 2 rule changes, just some clarification or wording updates for a rule. So this is the example from the last one. We didn't have any Seraphon stuff here because we had gotten our book not too many months before this, and we had an FAQ. So I do expect to see something listed in the Battle Scroll for Seraphon, and I'm going to show you some examples here in a second. But Don't expect whole rewrites to War Scrolls. That's probably not going to happen. Just slight tweaks to rules is probably all we'll get in that Battle Scroll. We'll also see some point updates. This is a pretty familiar site here for these Battle Scrolls. You see a list of everything that might change or might not. And this last one you saw, Soulblight was doing extremely well, so they got a lot of nerfs. You saw Stormcast was kind of struggling, so they got a lot of point decreases. So I expect to see a little bit of a balance in our list, trying to bring the Saurus side up and kind of bringing the Skink side down. So here are my, maybe this isn't necessarily a wish list, because the first one I don't necessarily wish they would do, but this is what I think they might do. So if we're trying to bring down the Starborne side of things a little bit, I think maybe one thing they might do is change the Lord of Celestial Resonance ability. What this does is this allows you put it on your Slann, and you're able to double up the amount of Celestial Conjuration points that you can get. So I think maybe what they would do is they would change that to once per turn. So if you successfully cast a spell or unbind a spell, then you get 2 points just that one time, and not for every single spell that the Slann casts. This isn't a huge nerf on the outside, but what it does is it really brings down your Celestial Conjuration point generation, because you do count on that Slann with this Lord of Celestial Resonance ability to really pump up those numbers. And so just about every single Starborne list takes this on their Slann, and so I think that might be one way that would force us to diversify our list building a little bit. So maybe we get away from just the core of every single Starborne list is exactly the same, except for a few units. And maybe it'll force us to look at something a little bit different than the same exact ability that everyone takes. So maybe that's something they might do. I think that would bring down Starborne, a few percentage points on that win chart. And it would definitely hurt your conjuration points, which is the core of that Starborne. So I don't necessarily want this to happen, but this is one thing they could do, I think, to bring down Starborne a little bit. Let's talk about some buffs, though. Here's one thing I would like to see. Scar Veteran on Agradon, change the Alpha Roar to delete once per battle. I think right here, this would all of a sudden make this unit much better. It make Agradons better. You have a good support piece, and it would give the Saurus a punch that is sustainable through a game. So right now, what the Agradon on the Scarvet on Agradon does is once per battle, you can add 1 to the attacks of the Agradon, the actual Agradon mounts. So it's good. It raises that rage score, but it's hard to justify taking this for a once per battle ability. When he's more expensive than the Astrolith, I can just take an Astrolith that is constantly going to be buffing my army versus this Agradon. So I would like to see that once per battle removed on him. That way I could continue to pump up those Agradons every single turn. It's not like this would put them at max score 3 for the entire game, because they're going to lose it as soon as they're out of combat. So you still have the same problems with the rage scores you do now, but this gives you a little bit of an ability with that Agradon to keep the Saurus side of things pumped up throughout the whole game. Another one, okay, so we kind of nerfed Starborne a little bit. We kind of buffed the Saurus side a little bit. How can I buff Thunderlizard? I was thinking about a lot of different things. I think there's a lot of ways you could go. The subfaction ability could be completely reworked or rewritten. But I think one change that could be nice is the Engine of the Gods. Engine of the Gods is an absolutely terrible war scroll right now. One way I think we could fix it is just to change the base power dice that you start with for the Cosmic Engine from 2d6 to 3d6. So if you start with 3 dice, on turn 1, you have a 50-50 chance to do a couple mortal wounds. I mean, you're talking like maybe averaging, 4 to 5 mortal wounds on that ability if it goes off. So a 50-50 chance at some mortal wounds when you start with 3 dice. I think that's reasonable. I won't even touch its points, leaving it 300. You can either wait another turn, get 4, which allows you to do some, possibly some summoning, or kind of not really guarantee the mortal wounds, but have a much better chance at mortal wounds. So I think if we could just change the base cosmic power dice to 3d6, that would help the Engine of the Gods a whole lot more. It it would make me want to bring him into some games, and maybe that would help out Thunderlizard a little bit. I think Thunderlizard could be helped with points as well, and we'll get to that here in a second. So those are my 3 changes. I don't know that they'll give us 3 in the battle scroll, but maybe 1 or 2 of these will find its way in. Hopefully, just the buffs to the Agrodon and the engine. So, what about some point changes? Here's just a shot at some point changes. What do y'all think about this? Let me know what you think. The Astrolith Bear, I'm increasing him by 10 points because he's in every single list, and GW loves to do that. Oh, this unit's taken in every single list. Let's pump him up 10 points. This is one of those point changes that hurts Starborne. That's kind of directed at Starborne, but hurts Saurus and Coalesce at the same side. So to counteract that, I would like to see the Saurus Old Blood brought down a whopping 30 points to 100. Seraphon is desperately in need of a hero that's at that 100-point range. All of our cheapest hero is 130. Well, I guess you could go some Pterodon hero or the Riprodactor hero. But the foot heroes in that 100-point range are kind of missing. A lot of times I find myself in a Coalesce list and I've got like 100 points and I want to bring a hero in and I just don't have anything. So I would like to see that Old Blood down 100 points. He's not really that useful. This would give us an option if we need a Saurus General that we have a cheap option here. So I like that. Down 30 points. He might see the table every once in a while at 100 points. A Scar Veteran on Carnosaur. Okay, I'm gonna leave the Old Blood the same. I think the Old Blood's fine where he's at. Very useful doing the double commands. Decent in melee when you give him the right stuff, or tough depending on how you load him out. So I'm fine with him at 260. I'm gonna drop the Scar Veteran down 20 points to 240 because he does not have the same utility as the Old Blood. The Scar Veteran doesn't support anybody else. He's just kind of on his own. He's designed to go like kill monsters and stuff, which he's not going to do. So he's in a weird place. I don't like his ability. So he definitely needs to be cheaper. Skink Oracle on Trogodon, dropping 10 points. Just the symbolic Games Workshop minus 10 points. Now is he worth it? You take him when you have a game plan for him. He fits into some of my lists at 270. I'd like him a little bit cheaper. Star Priest, I dropped 10 points because really, he's only really worth his points over in the Saurus side of things, where you have lots of attacks on units, and you're not really taking them all that often in Starborne because you have better wizards. You might take him if you're just looking for that one extra cast, but his best ability is the 6s on wounds. The wounds of 6s equal a mortal wound, and that works best in Saurus side of things. So I'd like to see him drop 10 points to maybe help out the Saurus side of things. Starseer can go up 10 points. Slann goes up another 10 points. Those are all just kind of targeted at Starborne here. We're going to force your list to go up 30 points. You're going to lose an Endless Spell. You're going to lose some Conjuration points. That should even you out. We'll see what that does. Spawn of Chotek, it's got to come down in points. Maybe 100 is too cheap. No, 100 isn't too cheap. 100's fine for Spawn of Chotek because it hits on a 4. It hits on a 4, and you've only got one attack. Great ability if you can actually get damage through. So I'd either say it's got to go drastically down in points, or its profile's got to get better, like 2 shots, or the damage characteristics got to be like D3 plus 3. It's got to change. That D6 damage on a 4 up to hit is just way too swingy. Stegodons, I think, could come down to benefit Thunderlizard. Generally, you're not going to take more than one of those in your other lists anyway, so the extra 20 points won't be that big a deal. But in Thunderlizard, an extra 20 points on a handful of Stegodons will make a big difference. Stegodon Chief, I haven't seen anybody play him. He hasn't hit the table since our new Battle Tome came out for me. At 300 points, he's wildly overpriced. So he has no synergies with anybody. He has no way to buff him in the Thunderlizard side of things. Just an odd piece. So he's got to come down quite a bit. 50 points probably isn't enough, but I'd like to see him start at 250 and see if we can make him work there. You almost always are taking an Old Blood on Carnosaur over a Stegodon Chief right now. Like, an Old Blood on Carnosaur buffs the Stegodons way better than a Stegodon Chief does. What is a Stegodon Chief's role? So he's got to come down some points. Oh, and then also the Bastiladon with Solar Engine. Now, this may trigger people who have been brutalized by the Bastiladon with Solar Engine in past, but it's got to be cheaper. Right now, it just does not compare with like the other artillery monsters in Age of Sigmar, like your Iron Blasters, your Steam Tanks. I mean, its damage is way less and a whole lot less utility than some of those other monsters artillery pieces. So you probably won't see it go down to 200 points, because then maybe Stormcast does something crazy and allies 2 of them in. I don't know, but I don't think they would be worth it at that point, because they're averaging like 3 damage in shooting. It's not good. So I think 210 is reasonable. They've got to get cheaper. At this point, I would pretty much always take the Snakes Bastiladon at 180 over these guys. So anyway, I don't know. What do y'all think? What do you want to see? What do you think GW is going to do? In reality, they'll probably just have one line and like it's going to look like this. It's going to look like this again. And we're going to see +10 Slann, and that's it. I hope not. I hope they see that the Saurus side is struggling and they give us a little bit of help. Let me know in the comments below what your predictions are. Are mine wildly off base? Am I missing something? Do some wish listing, because we got like 2 weeks to wait, maybe at the earliest, for this battle scroll. So, all right, guys, we'll see you on the next one. Hopefully soon we'll have a battle scroll review. See you guys.